Hello, John, Chris, Matthew, Zachary.
Hello, how are you?
Um, I'm okay. We seem to have lost our host.
Oh no.
Yeah, she just sent a chat message saying my laptop died and now I'm using a spare backup.
Oh boy, that's the
Nothing is
worst.
nothing is working. No camera, no mic. But she is here somewhere. John, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
Good, good.
Um, and it looks like Elaine's also recording. So yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Do you know if we're to expect anyone from Eastport?
They voiced interest during their last meeting. Ken certainly voiced interest and thanked us for the invite. I thought the other guys might also get involved. But yeah, they voiced interest and they indicated that they would be here.
Okay. Elaine just noted that Ken cannot attend. But that leaves four others, I guess. Well, we'll give them another minute or two, and if nobody shows up, then we will proceed.
Chris is here.
Here.
Indeed.
Welcome back, Ray. How was your trip?
It turned out to be very good. I had business at Northwestern University, and I don't think it could have gone better. I don't think.
Oh, good. Good for you.
Yeah,
I thought you were retired.
I am.
Oh,
They're not paying me anything.
oh, well, I guess that's like being retired, I guess.
Oh, it is. Believe me.
I've been keeping track of the fires on Maui. I have my childhood home is up in upcountry Kula, which is one of the areas that they're experiencing the fire, but I think we're far enough away where it's not an issue.
Oh, it is so sad.
Yeah, well, I think you said you've been to the islands, maybe Maui, but Lahaina is a big tourist spot.
Oh, I know. We were there. In fact, I have a wonderful T-shirt from a wine and cheese place called "Who Cut the Cheese."
Well,
Good.
chances are that might be a collector's item.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's really sad. Gene Peacock may show up.
Yeah, I was just surprised at how many fatalities there were. That obviously must have been a fast moving fire. I mean, there's
Right.
only really there's only two ways. One way in, at each end of the town of Lahaina to exit. So, and stuff like that happened. Then it's only a 2-lane road. It's it's not a highway that allows people to get out there quickly.
Right. Right. Scott just joined.
I'm
Oh,
here.
good to have you, Scott.
Thanks. I'm under the weather, so I'm gonna keep my camera off today.
Okay. Zach or Matt, are either one or both of you going to make some sort of presentation?
Yes, we will.
Okay, good. Good. We should be able to share it.
Awesome. Are we ready to begin, or are we going to wait for anybody else?
Let's wait and see if Jean Peacock shows up. She would be a representative for Eastport.
Okay, great.
Paul Sheehy is here. Good. Hi, Paul.
Hello. Sorry, I'm still fixing my headset.
Okay. Well, why don't we do the screen share now?
Sure. How is that? Can you see my screen?
I can see it.
Great. So we really appreciate being invited today to show you how Matrix can support a variety of different project models to match what the MCA is looking for in their current cohort 2 grant application. So Matt and I have a presentation here we'll run through today, give you an understanding of all the different options for how we can be creative around manipulating some of the technology that's available to solve the broadband problem, but then also keeping it future proof and really thinking about that smart city as technology continues to interconnect more and more of our lives by the day. So we'll be able to share this with you when we're done. So we'll do a quick introduction to Matrix Design Group, our professional engineering and project management company, and our internet service provider, Matrix Connected Fiber. We do share a significant amount of the staff, just under 2 separate companies here. So we have been in business for 28 years. We really support 5 primary institutions, separate sectors. So from state and local government, from a law enforcement, surveillance, and public safety perspective, education, that's from cloud computing to cybersecurity to network endpoints, and then also physical security devices, financial institutions. We do a lot of the servers, storage, and compute, along with the data center design, build out, management. Utility companies, from both the transatlantic fiber type to the local power company. They have all of their systems on a fiber network as well for their electrical systems monitoring. Then in the private sector, this is where it gets most interesting, whether it be the large manufacturing plant or the Amazon warehouse or the White Claw or Anheuser-Busch facility. We do a lot of the security, manufacturing, connectivity for them as well. So I like to start with this part because we don't just specialize in being an internet service provider or a broadband partner or an engineering company. We have business capabilities and subject matter experts in more. So these are some of our customers that we serve currently and on an ongoing basis. We have university customers, the big CLECs, Fortune 500 companies. So to really start to review what goes into a fiber build, I'm sure this being the broadband committee, everyone's familiar, but there's really these 7 key steps. We have the MCA Connect the Ready grant application. That's really the first piece to enable us to work on collecting the resources needed to invest those into the community. Then the first step, once the MCA grant is awarded would be the engineering, the pole surveys, the network design, the fiber design. Then it would move on to the permitting process to procure that right-of-way space out in the public right-of-way on the existing utility poles. Then the fiber construction would begin. And step number 5, the homes and businesses would receive their service drop. Then customer service and the internet would be turned up. Then you roll into the standard recurring maintenance. So from a high level engineering, we felt it was best to, hang on one second, I'm getting a little feedback from somebody. Is that me?
I
think
don't know.
somebody
I'm
might have
I'm
two
seeing 2
mics on.
connections for Jean. If they're both active, she may be getting feedback herself.
Let me try now. Is that better? Yeah, okay, great, that's better. So from high level engineering, we have a few slides here to review the type of technology that would be transmitted across the glass, the fiber cable itself, to the customer premise. So fiber being in a single mode capacity, it can accommodate different wavelengths. We would be doing an NG-PON2, which would be 10 gig ready, or an XGS-PON. So these would be systems that would be ready to transmit up to 10 gigs of symmetrical bandwidth. You can see some of the different technologies as they've changed over time. So from a physical perspective, we have to start with, where do we house all the network electronics? Where would that go? I always like to show this picture because form factor is really important. When you build a network that's 40, 50, 60, 100 miles long in length, connecting thousands or tens of thousands of customers, you could do all of that out of this small utility shelter here. So it's about a 12 by 10 building, redundant air conditioning systems, redundant power systems. And it's just absolutely incredible how small these central offices have become. And now what's inside of this little room? This is a standard layout that would be sized appropriately for your community. Be 2 or 3 racks worth of electronics holding the fiber cables themselves and all of those optical line terminal cards. So we just looked at the head end. I don't know if you can see my cursor. Let me see if I can do that over here. So this is where that shelter would go. And then to the right in orange and purple, the orange is the fiber and the purple would be each customer's house, each premise served. So this shows what the system would look like from a topology standpoint. And here it is from a more physical standpoint. So this is how the electronics talk to one another. And here's how the physical fiber is. So we have the internet backhaul. And then this is, again, that shelter. We'd have all the electronics and management systems, have all the splitters. We'd have all the redundant power. And then here, this would be that fiber system there. So that really is what the MCA cohort 2 is around, connecting those eligible locations. This here is a great picture of the electronics that would go into that hub shelter, along with the electronics that would be required at each subscriber to then take advantage of that broadband signal that would be transmitted from the head end. Here we have a picture of the type of fiber. Every time we do a project similar to the one that would be needed in your community, we design and specify the cable that's fit for the region that it's being deployed in, whether it's ice loading or strand count or tensile strength based on the environmental characteristics of storms in that region. All of these cables are designed fit for a purpose. Then down here, we have enough glass for them to service all of the customers in those localized areas. And we come once again to the electronics that go inside the home. There's a few different really unique options. And service no longer stops at bringing the internet to the home. It now extends into the home and to all of the devices that are connected to that network, from the smart TV to the iPad to these new smart monitors for your pets to make sure they get enough exercise. So as a standard, Matrix always installs the wireless router along with the fiber device, so that when we get a call from a customer, we can log in and we have access to the wireless environment inside the home, so we can assist in troubleshooting any challenges they might experience. Matt, I can speak from experience over the years. You'll get a call that somebody's TV is not buffering a Netflix show, or they're losing connectivity, and we'll call and we'll find that the TV is not connected to the internet. So we can walk the customer through reconnecting the TV to the wireless, so they can then stream whichever type of entertainment medium they were trying to reach. So we just reviewed a lot of the physical, topology, logical, network related items that go into executing a fiber to the home project. This is a great visual of what it looks like at 2-3 miles off the surface with the whole town, showing the different homes. It's very difficult to see. I hope it's coming through on the Zoom screen share, but all of these little colored dots here are the actual premise locations, and each little area would be fed by a different purple line card. And in this instance, we have the Peninsula region shown here. We did not have time to pull up all of the Vetro plans for Perry specifically, but we wanted to show that we do have some material prepared. Matt, if you wouldn't mind, I'm not sure if you're still on the audio, but if you could speak to our current status with where we stand with Vetro in this area, that would be great.
Certainly. So all of the E911 roads and addresses have been identified. Most of the versant poles have also been identified, mapped, and plotted. From that stance, I have since opened a blank, I guess you would call it Vetro engineering instance for the cohort 2 today. I opened that up. So I should expect to have that data compiled and pulled into our instance so they can be manipulated, and the data of the eligible locations versus underserved, unserved, or no connection, along with the reduced eligibility areas, can get overlaid onto the map. So we'll have a better understanding of, the financial impacts of the design as to the funding.
And as far as Vetro experience, our Matrix team has been with Vetro since prior to them starting to publicly go out for different series of funding rounds on their path to rolling up the business to something larger. We've been operating our currently active ISP systems in Vetro for years now. So we have the benefit of having a very mature engineering and network support staff that are both familiar with it, but also successful with it in the past with our previously awarded MCA grants. In Vetro, you get to do a lot with Vetro in order to just submit for the grant, but this is where Vetro becomes very powerful, and I think the management is often overlooked. So we have this little image in here because if we were to click on one side of the network and click on a customer's home after the system is live, because there might be trouble or a cable needs to be added or there's just something going on, usually storm related, obviously, we can actually click on that path and see exactly where their strand of glass goes across the network, the distances of these different network type of points, and this connects to the back end electronic systems to help identify where those problems are. Another instance of being able to not only reduce the time it takes to locate damage to the system, and again, always physical, a tree, a car accident, a fire, etc., or a damaged electrical wire that burns through the fiber cable itself. But then it also lets us roll the correct trucks and assets to the problem location to repair the damage the first time instead of having to get eyes on it first and then deploy the resources needed to complete the repairs.
Just a small note on that, Zach, and not to interrupt, but as one of our standard features in our operational model, we include a UPS battery backup system in every home. And the reason why we do that is to effectively manage what is a fiber related issue versus the knock alarms and the automation going to our Vetro system to flag power outages as they happen so that we can alert any first responders of potential problems with, say, elderly communities and things like that we have in our other network. So that's just an added value benefit.
Yep, I'm going to turn my camera off for just one moment here. Hang on. I stayed so late, they came in to clean the building. Next slide here, we have a typical construction schedule. I hope it's not too small, but from formal start date of construction, after the MCA grant is awarded and boots can go on the ground, we're between 18 and 24 months to go from no network, no permits, no connectivity to 100% completed. We have those steps broken down into 44 elements that we're sharing here, but there's about 5,000 elements that go underneath each one of these lines here. The way that we work with a partner community in one of these public-private partnership models or from a consulting level would also include visibility into this with those recurring and periodic updates throughout the course of the project, obviously in line with the reporting and compliance requirements of those MCA grants. As far as services that we offer, not all of the services or the only services we are capable of offering, but the standard services we begin with would be internet service up to 10 gigs per second. We would have voice over IP phone service for those who have legacy lines or still are using a physical handset. We have managed Wi-Fi 6 and 6E. And those come with a few extremely powerful parental controls, which in today's day and age are becoming more and more unfortunate that these solutions are coming onto the market. But a few of them allow the parent to limit when the child is able to access the internet, either in duration or block certain sites, or put age restrictions on sites they visit. So you can use your imagination, but it seems like any website you can reach nowadays has adult content and child content. And these type of systems allow you to lock that down from a internet right at the home. And then they also address a lot of online bullying now, which the more we deploy that, the more sad it gets for us that now these applications exist to scrub things on social media before the child can even see. So if they are accessing social media based on their age or the limitations of their parents, they can actually filter and they will never even be able to reach that content, even if they are able to use the website. Then we have the standard battery backup. For businesses, we have a 5G cellular backup option as well. So it's like a Cradlepoint style system that law enforcement would use, so you can stay connected, especially for those more critical businesses that are running 24/7 or in the emergency support. And then we have some additional smart home and smart business services. Those range from either Blue City cameras to integrated smart home devices that all connect and roll back up into the same Wi-Fi system that then you can run your whole home off of the app for your house, from sharing passwords to friends and family that visit the home or a renter, whether it be short-term, long-term, etc. That can all be ran through one application. So from the lock to the refrigerator, etc. And we can skip this because Matt and I did not have enough time to prepare the Perry specific data, but we typically put in the data here for your specific community, and then we'll move on to some of the investment options. Before we dive into how Matrix is able to partner with the community, are there any questions? Because we've covered a lot so far.
I don't have any.
No? Okay. Thank you. So we'll continue. We only have six pages left, and I think one is a thank you page. So this partnership option slide is not a concrete fixed thing, but it is the 4 most common ways that Matrix's capabilities can get leveraged by the community partner we're working with, whether it be the town, the county, or a cohort. These 4 are the standard ways that we feel that we can add the most value to that project objective. So option 1 would be professional consulting. So the MCA grant process to the design, to the permitting, et cetera, there are a lot of steps, and we have the subject matter experts who can be plugged in. I don't like to use the word a la carte, but one of our sales colleagues always uses it. So we can be used on an as needed basis for those more specific fine detail pieces. Option 2 would be a public-private partnership, which has some contributions from our company, both monetarily and operationally, and then some contributions from the local community that we're partnered with. Option 3 would be a public built partner. So if the community we're working with procures funds, we can just go out and build it for them and hand it over. And option 4 would be a Matrix turnkey, where we would do absolutely everything. So option 1, we listed out a few of the most commonly used for a broadband project. So from a professional services, the grant application process and consulting. Not only do we work with the MCA in the state of Maine, but we have it's about 22 years of experience, both responding to and consulting on different grants, whether it be with the Army Corps of Engineers or the NTIA or the FCC or the agricultural. So currently and in the past, we've had, if there's a grant out there related to fiber and broadband connectivity, we've been involved. And then a few of the more specific project task related items would be from the Vetro design, the financial analysis, digital equity plans, the digital inclusion plans, marketing plans, workforce plans, construction schedule, and you can use your imagination from any of the grant steps or any of those lines that are in those eligible costs on those unit rates. We are here and available as a resource to the communities that requested of us to support 1, 2, 10, etc. number of those discrete tasks. Option number 2 would be a private and public capital investment, where we would be able to design, build, and operate the system. We offer public an exclusive partner buyout option. And the way that works is, if the network, we say, has a 20-year life cycle, we would work up the numbers and bring those to the community, show them based on the take rate, the passings, the data that we have, we would be able to offer to sell it back to the community at year 5 or year 7. And then between year 7 and year 20, it would decrease in price every single year. And at year 20, we would offer it back to the community for $10. Fourth bullet here, we have transparent partnership. As part of our PPP investment options, we offer visibility into behind the scenes of the network once it's up and running, along with quarterly reports as to the status. And to this day, we still are in, I would say, about monthly discussions with the other systems we have online in the communities, where police chief reaches out, hey, branch is down, and we're making the formal reports back to both the town manager and the broadband committee and the select board on a recurring basis to keep them up to date on the new connections, the disconnections, the trouble tickets, any of our truck rolls. So they really get a feel for the community, because we feel in this type of market, you cannot have a corporate mindset. You really must have a grassroots mindset. The community must be interested in working with us. The leadership in that community must want to work together with us to work through the inclusion plans, the target areas, because no one knows the community better than the community itself. During COVID, our team spent a lot of time coordinating and planning and accommodating students, staff, underprivileged, elderly, in ways that, frankly, I didn't see where I lived. I don't know if any of you did during that time, but we made it a point to make sure extra service was given to especially the students first, then the workers who were stuck at home, and the elderly who were either alone, or we could do truck visits and check on them, or we could make phone calls to monitor their service if we saw different adaptation in the usage of the system. And then the last benefit we have here for the public-private partnership option is really flexible investment. Whether there's $1 or $10 million, that scales on how we can structure the offer, lock in the prices, and provide those services from day one. And then option 3, as a public build partner, similar criteria would apply to option 2, but in this case, it would be on a more standard construction basis for the build, the project management, the grant reporting and compliance, and all the same steps would go in there, but we would be able to come in and build either one or many of the discrete steps. And then option 4 would be a matrix turnkey. This would be, there's capital exists, the business plan is vetted, and we can come in and bring the project experts, provide capital investment, do the design build operation, handle the full grant and execution, and then maintain that long-term grant compliance reporting. So with all of that information and background on Matrix and our different options, with cohort 2 now open, I'd like to ask, what is the appetite and the interest to work towards getting an application in to the MCA during this currently open round?
This is Razak. That's a really hard question for us to answer because we've been doing this, for about 8 months now. But when we go beyond what we understand are the needs of the community, we really haven't gone much farther than that in getting the pulse of the community in terms of what types of risk tolerance they have, what type of investment possibilities they would think are reasonable for the town. I have my personal feelings, but I'm going to keep them to myself for the present time. I'd like to figure out if we could move forward in some way. And what that some way would be, I think we should take the opportunity of talking at least with the select board. We're scheduled to talk with them on Tuesday. And we could probably answer your question a heck of a lot better by Wednesday.
Okay.
Is that suitable?
Yes, of course. And if I could leave you with 2 questions or statements, I'm not really sure what to call them now. I apologize. I had an early start today to my day. I would like to offer Matrix to review and analyze the data that the MCA has open in this cohort, to give us some data and analytics around how much would Perry be eligible for. And number 2, as a takeaway, if there was interest in learning more about how we could be of service and partner, the first step would be for us to review those numbers and have a follow-up meeting in the near future. The second one, the most actionable one, once if a decision is made to work with Matrix and pursue a MCA grant submittal, the only document we would really require would be a memorandum of understanding, because the MCA will require the partnership be written down on paper. So I'd like to maybe send you over today's presentation we looked through and put that in an email for everybody on this call about the variety of options, and that will require our team to take one level deeper look at everything, especially with us having the request in for that data just today, and just keep awareness up that there would be no deposit or transaction of any kind for us to work towards a partnership and review what would be good for the community if what we have to offer the community is willing to entertain. And I'll leave it open, and Matt, if you have anything you'd like to say, but I can say that we would love to work towards a solution with Perry, especially to evaluate the opportunity for how much you could be eligible for with this grant round.
Yeah, so to be 100% transparent, to dive in and to get the data and to start the physical work behind the scenes, to really drill down on the costs, not only construction costs, but it's reaching the funding parameters of, say, multiple different financial models. We would just need at least a letter of support in order to, enter that application on behalf of your communities. That doesn't necessarily mean that you would be committed to, to going that route. But at least it opens the door with actual numbers, so that we really know what we're willing to do here, and what our financial contribution would be for the project itself, along with the communities. So, we would love to invest at least that time. We think that it's, from a higher level standpoint and looking at just, dots on a map and the metadata, that it's a unique opportunity, and we'd be grateful to be able to take that opportunity. And that was all I really had.
Okay. Chris, do you have any comments or questions?
No questions. Yeah, I'm learning the matrix models, alongside you guys. I mean, I like the flexibility. The only thing I think that we, haven't talked, or I personally haven't heard too much, Zach and Matt, in terms of like network maintenance and things like that, what are your sort of plans for supporting the networks when, based on what you currently have on the slate for Maine, are separated quite a bit geographically. So what do you guys normally use for model for, staffing, maintenance crews, things like that? Is it a contractor model? Do you house, you find local staff? What's kind of that model look
So
like?
there's a little bit of a scaled option here where, yes, we would probably have to, depending upon the time scale of the MCA, bring in, some help either from, our crews themselves from Millennium, or from, local contractors. But our overall goal is to use our facilities to hire local and then bring them to train at, our labs down in New Jersey for, say, a section of time, come and shadow and train with our systems, with our technicians now that are in deployment, and then keep them in the community, embedded in the community. So we're looking to develop the workforce for the operational model, to stand up a full scale construction crews on large scale, in short term isn't necessarily viable, in my opinion. So we would need some help there, throughout the industry connections that we have. But definitely for operational standpoint, we would be looking to hire local, train local, and keep that inside the community.
Yeah, and that operational piece was what I was more interested in, the actual
Yeah.
network operator and things. Cool. That's awesome to hear. And there's certainly plenty of funding around for workforce development that we may be able to pull into play as well.
Yes, and once the systems are online, we typically go ahead and set up mutual assistance agreements with other local ISPs. We've had a handful in place, and in our last significantly large investments in Vermont, with about a 15,000 customer passing system, we never once had to call on those resources. Because with the data that you have behind the information, the local technicians and also our regional support, all in-house staff that is, we've been able to accommodate all of the repairs, whether it be storm, hurricane, et cetera, related, especially the ice ones. Those are the worst.
Your mic is off, Chris.
Yeah, I can't remember if we touched on this at all. Thank you, Ray. I did catch it. The make ready situation that's prevalent in Maine right now. Are you guys one touch make ready certified or no, or what do you generally pursue for the make ready portion of things? And this is more just educational, so we have an idea of how much headwinds if Perry decides to go down this route.
Sure, I can comment to a couple of portions of this on how we design our networks for that particular option as well. So a little bit of my background, I came from the power side of things. So I used to work up in that space. I found that the material characteristics and also the NESE regulations, especially rule number 235, that says the distance between conductive materials shall not be equally distant to the span on mid-span gaps up to 12 inches, means that we have 1910-269 approved contractors and staff that can hang cable in the power space, which means that if the application isn't ready in time, we don't need space for communications to move on a temporary attachment.
Interesting. All right.
I like that question.
It's the first time I've heard that angle. Well,
it's a mouthful of an answer, but it is true.
Yeah. I've heard people dancing around the issues a little bit and things like that, and we're all going to be looking to push the envelope if they can't get their act together, on the make ready front. Something has to be done. So I think it's awesome to see companies thinking outside the box a little more and pushing the envelope a little bit.
Yes, and we most certainly have broached the topic with the MCA directly because here at Matrix, we've been through this before in our other markets that we service, and we're trying to prepare the MCA to really become involved in the make ready process because they're the ones who will have the loudest voice across the entire state to the utilities now that there is such a development and such an investment, especially from the federal government level, that needs to be maintained because those funds are only available until the end of next year. So the clock is ticking, and they really have to get their act together and maintain and beat those timelines. And knowing the utility owners, they'll be blaming, the trees won't grow fast enough to get us new utility poles. We've heard them all before. Our trucks broke down, we can't get the parts. So having a few creative options in the tool belt is required to meet a timeline like this.
Thanks, guys.
Paul, do you have any comments on behalf of Eastport?
Not presently. Thank you so much, Sir Ray.
My pleasure. John, Scott?
I have a question about the router that you mentioned, Zach. Is that included in the part of the basic service? I know other ISPs charge you for that router. Is that something that would be additional?
It depends on the type of business model. We have systems that it's an extra service and systems that it's included. Right now, I apologize, I couldn't speak, but we have such flexible, unique options. If you, for example, wanted it to come with a TV, we would certainly be able to accommodate that and run the numbers on what that would look like for the community as well.
Yeah, because we're, like Ray says, we're meeting with the selectmen on Tuesday, and I can see one of them asking specifically, how much would it cost a month for the services that you would be providing?
Well, you can certainly share with them that the internet service would meet the MCA requirement of $59.99 for that base tier at their threshold. The rest of the services on our website, you'll be able to see what local neighboring communities would cost. And maybe that would be a very good thing for us to include today's presentation along with a link to our other system so you can poke around on the website. And most of the information they're looking for, I'm sure they would be able to access right from there.
Okay, and that 10 gig that you mentioned, that's symmetrical?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that imply too that there's options to like adjust the rates to affect the long-term take rate, or the long-term take rate requirements for solvency, I guess?
Well, the network would have a minimum health requirement that would need to be wrapped up into the business plan and the financials submitted with the grant. So typically we address that after we are able to do a market analysis and then run the numbers on it. So for example, in some communities, it might be 40% because of the fixed capital costs to build the system, and then the variable cost of connecting X number of subscribers, and then factoring the revenue and operations around a network of that size. The more dense a network is, the more the lower the risk is on the sustainability curve. So to answer your question directly, it ultimately will yield a composite average revenue per unit passed number. Yes, but all of those take rates and all the other variables that go into that would need to be based on a looked at the community level based on the specific needs of the construction to accomplish the build itself.
That was a fantastic answer. Thank you.
It's a long one, Matt. I live in the spreadsheet, so sorry I couldn't get that one out quicker.
No, honestly, that's a fantastic answer. Thank you.
I have a simple question, I think. I specialize in simple questions. I know you've had the opportunity to look at the Vetro maps of Perry, at least in some degree of detail. But I'm just wondering, since we have a small RDOF footprint, but a fairly significant cable footprint from Spectrum, when you conceptualize your strategy for doing the bill, how do you handle the existing cable and RDOF facility or presence?
Certainly. I think I can speak to this for a sec. So some of the strategic positions that we put ourselves in the grant application process is, what are the barriers to entry into market? And the question becomes, well, what is the barrier to entry for someone who already has a similar but say subpar service? Usually it's the cost to connect. We've included the drops, the equipment, and the installs as free of charge included in the grant. So there is no cost to connect other than the monthly service charges that they would be applying for. So that would be the first thing that we would probably target. The second thing would be that community buy-in and involvement. So how does this help in a marketing plan, showing the community how the DPW benefits from having connections, how the fire department benefits from having a back channel connection to all of the smart city Wi-Fi hotspots and be able to maintain their communications. The list is very long, but we have prepared marketing materials to kind of circumvent the standard business practice of an ISP versus more of a community-led approach.
And the one piece I wanted to add to that comment, Matt, thank you, is the first step in any other eligible funding in a region begins with an inquiry from our team to the incumbent in the area. And when we review the plans of the eligible and ineligible locations. Our system would be designed to service every location passed by the network. And we would take the opportunity to build out to every eligible location. And oftentimes that does come along with the benefit where the MCA will not recognize the cost to connect somebody who currently has an option of a different service provider, but they will have access to the network itself, which then to the previous question would then further enhance the sustainability of the system overall.
Thank you, Zach. That was a good answer.
No problem.
Well, it looks like we've reached the point that we can wrap up. So you said that you were going to send us a copy of your slide deck, right?
Yes.
Okay. That will be very helpful. As is the fact that we've been recording these things because we find that when it comes time to refresh our memory, it's always there.
Perfect. Well, we'll send over the slide deck and we'll send over a link to our website. If there's any interest in a more technical oriented group seeing behind the scenes at some of the other systems we have in place with current ones, we certainly would be more than happy to accommodate that. And at this point, we look forward to being able to speak to you all in the future after there's some discussions on your team if there's an interest in moving forward and learning more about how we might be able to achieve this together.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the presentation, Zach and Matt. It's been very,
Of
very
course.
helpful.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Indeed. It was great to meet you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Zach.
you.
Thank you, Matt. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Have a nice evening, everybody. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Everyone.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Well, here we are.
Here we are.